Bring in Matt Schulz, Chief Industry Analyst at CompareCards.com. I love talking about all of these credit cards. I think what's really interesting is what we've seen with Goldman Sachs and the Apple Card. I mean, they're saying how it's been the most successful launch ever. What are your thoughts?
Well, honestly, I'm not sure what they're basing it on because, I mean, there's been a lot of hype around it and you haven't been able to miss the ad spots about it. But when it comes to a successful credit card launch, it's nothing compared to the Chase Sapphire Reserve, which became this phenomenon wildfire that everybody knew about. So I'm not entirely clear what they're basing it on, but there's a little bit of hyperbole going on there, if you ask me.
I did read through some of the notes where it said that since August, this is what they were noting and why they're calling it the most successful launch. They said that since August, they've seen high demand. In fact, they handled inflows smoothly without compromising our credit underwriting standards. When you hear that kind of language, are you impressed?
Well, it's hard to know. I mean, ultimately, it's going to play out kind of how it plays out. It also hasn't been without some missteps. There was some reporting on how there were some issues about reporting people's payment histories on the card to credit bureaus that was causing a little bit of issue. So these things never work out perfectly. Ultimately, a whole lot of people have made the mistake of underestimating Apple in the past. It's probably not that wise to do it in the future. So I think ultimately they'll probably be okay.
Yeah, and apparently Goldman Sachs has been slashing some of the employee pay just to move ahead in some of these tech ventures like this one. So in the big picture, in the big scheme of things, so you say don't go against Apple, that's probably a wait and see, and we'll see what happens. In the big picture of the payment space and credit cards, who's the best player? Which company really says wow to you?
Well, it's difficult. I mean, I'm not so much a stock picker, but it's clearly that there's a time where we're seeing this space where we're seeing people still spending, but we're also seeing delinquencies increase a little bit. We saw that in Amex earnings this morning. We've seen it in some of the other big issuers' earnings calls over the last little while. So we're going into a time where there's a little bit of, people are a little bit unsure as to how confident the consumer is. I personally believe that they're not all that confident and that things may get a little rough a little quickly when a downturn eventually comes. But it's definitely an interesting time for the credit card space.
Mm-hmm. If I have a credit card, what's the interest rate tops that I should be paying on my outstanding debt?
Yeah, if you've got good credit, you'll probably get about a 17% interest rate. But if you've got crummy credit, you could be paying 25%. And if you have a retail credit card, you could be paying 30%. So those rates are really high. As if we need another reason to tell people to pay off that credit card debt as soon as you possibly can, those APRs are really, really high.
You got to watch out for those. Matt Schulz, great to see you. Chief Industry Analyst at CompareCards.com. Thanks so much for joining us.